Well, hello and welcome to the Hornback podcast here on episode 13. Originally, this podcast was supposed to have occurred on Christmas morning. But as many of you know, we woke up Christmas morning here in Tennessee and around the world with a bomb that exploded in downtown Nashville about 6:30 in the morning, Nashville time. And so with everything going on with Christmas and obviously with Nashville having experienced that, we had a lot of stuff going on around Christmas here. Christmas went on for a couple of days around our place. We had part of the family here on Christmas Day, and then we had the other part of the family here. We had some of our family traveling on Christmas Day, so we had Christmas on Saturday, and so I've been somewhat glued to the news about Nashville and about what happened over there on Christmas Day. So let's talk about it a little bit. As we now know, a gentleman who that's just the best term I can give for him. But anyway, an individual took an RV over onto 2nd Avenue in downtown Nashville and parked it, and for about 15 minutes gave some broadcast warnings that a bomb was going to go off and for people to get away. And in 15 minutes or so, it did go off. Obviously, the news has been pretty constant since that happened, and still don't know the motive. We do know that through the news that he had moved the ownership. He quitclaim deeded his house to a lady in California who has East Tennessee connections, from what I understand. From a news source here in Knoxville called Backroom Knox, we found out early and often that she attended the Knoxville Catholic High School. She then went on to be in the business administration at the University of Tennessee. She helped organize Volapalooza. She's done some other data type work and worked with AC Entertainment. All this according to Backroom Knox out of Knoxville, Tennessee, another news source. But she's been in California for a while. This individual, they say, has been in information technology. There's a lot of speculation about where he chose to park on 2nd Avenue in Nashville for his RV to explode. And that was beside an AT&T building that deals with the infrastructure. A lot of things have been said about that. There's supposedly a forensic audit going on with the Dominion voting system, particularly in the state of Georgia from AT&T. A lot of the communications across the state of Tennessee has been had difficulty for a day or two, particularly the a lot of the 911 systems were down. Their communication was down to 911, so they had to use landlines. All this at the same time that we had a white Christmas here in East Tennessee. And Sevier County still has thousands of homes without electricity because of trees that had fallen because it was a wet snow. We'd had rain pretty much all of Christmas Eve day. And then, I don't know, about 3 or 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve, we began to get some snow, even here in the valley in Knoxville. And here at our house, we had 3 inches of snow by the time it all ended. I know up in Sevier County and some other areas around Knoxville, it was about anywhere from 5 to 6 inches in some places. Sevier County was hit pretty hard, but back to the issue. The issue is that AT&T obviously caused some trouble because obviously their building, was pretty much, it wasn't leveled, but the front of the facade is off. And so, it hampered a lot of their stuff. And so, there's some early speculation. One, his father worked for AT&T. That has been reported. And people are beginning to speculate about, was it because of the forensic audit of the Dominion voting systems in Georgia and Michigan that AT&T supposedly has? Was it because he worked in information technology that maybe, his father working for AT&T and then him in information technology, was that a reason? Here's the problem. I don't know that we ever really know what any of the problems are. Do we really, we know that Timothy McVeigh, when he blew up the Oklahoma City federal building, we know that he had some major anti-government feelings and was upset with the government. Do we know that about this guy? Not necessarily. I think, and we do know now because of yesterday, Natalie Allison, probably the best reporter at the state capitol, and probably the best reporter in Tennessee at this point. We don't have a whole lot of them. Revealed yesterday, she didn't unveil it, she revealed it yesterday, that this person's girlfriend and attorney, the attorney represented both the girlfriend and the individual, had informed Metro Nashville police back in August of 2019 that this guy was making bombs in his RV. Metro Nashville police showed up. They didn't have any reason to, he would not answer his door. They had no reason to get in a search warrant to look at his RV. His RV was parked behind a privacy fence. He had no trespassing signs. He had security systems on it. None of that warranted Nashville Police Department to do anything to pursue it any further than just doing a knock. They call it a knock and talk, where they knock on your door, you open the door, and then they talk to you. Well, guess what? He never opened the door, so they never talked to him. And that really shed some light, I think, on this whole thing. David Roush, a former Knoxville Police Department chief, who is now the director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, what we call the TBI in Knoxville, or in Tennessee, said on a press conference a day or so ago that this guy was never on their radar. They didn't have anything on this guy. But now we see that Metro Nashville Police Department, at least, had some reports about him. Metro Nashville Police turned that information on over to the FBI. The FBI went through their data systems, didn't find anything on the person, and then they also sent his information to the Department of Defense. The one thing that's lacking in all of this is, when was the TBI ever involved? And so, those are some of the questions that often make me go, But anyway, will we ever really know what this person's motive was? We don't. I thought it was interesting that one of the news reports talked about how, there was a recording coming from the RV informing people that, a bomb is going to go off in X number of minutes, which, the media said, that's an indication he didn't want to hurt anybody. He just wanted to destroy property. A neighbor has come out since the bombing and said that the guy said, a week before the bombing, him and Nashville and the world would know him. Again, who knows? Here's a couple things that I'll leave you with. One is, why did the Nashville Police Department and the FBI and the Department of Defense not pursue, at least keeping an eye on the guy? That's the big thing. Also, the big thing is, he was able to take out the information systems for a day or two. In the fact that we had communication problems with people that had AT&T. Here's the problem I have with that is, why are governments sole sourcing one vendor? Why has, and I know what it is. I'm asking a question that I know the answer to. And that's the fact that the government the state will get a contract with like AT&T in this instance. And every county in the state or every municipality in the state will contract with AT&T to get that price. And so AT&T prices it because they know they're going to get just about everybody. And then when something like this happens, we're shocked and confused that we have a problem. Well, the problem is you're sole sourcing your communication, and so I have an issue with that. I have an issue with governments relying on one entity for everything. But hey, that's something we can argue about later. Obviously, I love Nashville just as much as I love my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. Have spent a lot of time over there over the years. Have met a lot of great folks who are in the entertainment business in Nashville, and my heart breaks for them. Before we get into the last remaining portion of this podcast and go on to something a little bit better than talking about a bombing in Nashville, I want to talk about three companies here in Knoxville that advertise on brianhornback.com. That's been my 16-year hobby, my website, the Mega Bullhorn of Truth, and the first one is Matlock Tire Service. Matlock Tire Service has 5 locations located in and around East Tennessee. Started at where the family business started many years ago in Lenoir City, Tennessee. They have a location in Farragut, in Maryville, in Athens, Tennessee, and the new one in Hardin Valley, Tennessee, Hardin Valley community of Knox County. MatlockTireService.com. That's where you can find them for all their 5 locations. And if you want to call them, you can call the Farragut location, 865-966-0425. Matlock Tire Service for all your transportation needs. Interagency Insurance Company, based out of Knoxville, Tennessee since 1966. They can write insurance in more than 35 states. Lou Moran III is running that business now that his father started many years ago. Interagency, INTER, with a hyphen, AGENCY, insurance.com. You can reach them in Knoxville at 865-637-4518. That's 865-637-4519. Ask for Lou Moran III. And then, of course, Just Homes Group. My friend Julia Hurley. Just Homes Group is a division of Realty Executives based out of Farragut, Tennessee. If you're looking to buy, sell, or you're just curious what your home value is, and maybe you need to downsize, maybe you need to upsize, maybe, I know several people are getting married. Several people are starting to have children now. And so it's time that you realize that you're in a small home and you need to get a bigger home. Call Julia Hurley at justhomesgroup.com. Her direct line number is 865-237-7325. That's 865-237-7325. Julia Hurley with the Just Homes Group. Now, appreciate those folks being on brianhornback.com. And if you too would like to be on brianhornback.com, you can either send me an email at brian@brianhornback.com. Pretty easy. Brian with an I and Hornback with an A, HORNBACK, Hornback. Brian@brianhornback.com. And or my number is 865-607-1108. If you are interested in being on brianhornback.com and getting more traffic into your business, we would love to have you on brianhornback.com or here on the Brian Hornback podcast. The Brian Hornback podcast is we're on Apple Podcast, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcast, we're on Radio Public, we're on Pocket Cast, we're on Breaker, and of course where we hang out and where we produce these podcasts is at Anchor FM. Anchor FM. I'm sure when you first tuned in, you heard the ad that I do for Anchor FM. Anyway, wherever you're listening to me at, or on YouTube, wherever you're listening at, give me a review if you can, if it gives you the option for a review. And if you're on YouTube, go and hit subscribe. If you're listening to me, and you would go to YouTube and look me up on YouTube, brianhornback.com, DOTCOM.com, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Allows us to further advance this podcast and everything else that we post there on our YouTube page. Anyway, let's talk about 2021. Let's talk about 2020. I mean, here we are. We're within about 2 days of being done with this year and moving on to 2021. I'd love for you to go to any of my socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and leave me a message about what you're thankful for in 2020. You know, there's some folks that I've met through social media that I actually got to meet in person in 2020. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the friends that I have, for the continued readership and now the listenership of the Brian Hornback podcast. And I'm just thankful that this year hasn't been as bad as it could have been. We all could have wound up with COVID. We could wind up on a ventilator, and so far so good, knock on wood. But, 2020 hasn't been the worst year, I don't think. For some people it has. I've got friends of mine who have lost parents and have lost family members, and obviously that's devastating. But, it's just one of those situations where, we just got to continue until we get the vaccine going. And I don't want to hear I know there's some anti-vaxxers out there. There's anti-mask people out there. I'm not, like I've said in previous podcasts, I'm not here to debate that issue. I understand it. I understand everybody's got positions, and I respect that. I respect the First Amendment. I respect the right of you to have a position and you to believe that position and you to fight for that position. But at the end of the day, of all the things I argue about and fight for, that's just not one of them that I'm willing to argue and fight for. I've got brianhornback.com face mask. If you want one, send me a message. I'll mail it to you. It's just what it is. I'm looking forward to 2021. I hope at some point we can kind of get back to some normalcy. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the stimulus package that the Senate blocked. President Trump came out and wanted $2,000 per person instead of $600. The House passed it. The Senate blocked it. And, I just got to wonder. I put out on Twitter, did the Senate Republicans, do they not want control of the Senate? Here we have a Georgia U.S. Senate, 2 U.S. Senate races up in Georgia on Tuesday, January the 5th, and the Republicans blocking the stimulus relief directly to the American taxpayers, and they block it. It's like, come on, guys. I understand it's putting us deeper and deeper in debt, but at the same time, there's lots of folks that need relief, and I would much rather have control of the U.S. Senate than to lose one of those U.S. Senate seats and have a 50-50 control, or potentially lose both of those seats, and then the Democrats have control of the Congress, the presidency, and the U.S. Senate. Come on, guys. Anyway, went a little bit longer than normal on this one. I'm sure we'll be talking about Nashville for some time to come. I'm sure we'll be talking about the transition of power. We'll obviously hope to get in episode 14 before the Georgia Senate race concludes next Tuesday. I'm truly pulling for Kelly Loeffler. I do want to see David Perdue win as well, but I really like Kelly Loeffler. And as I've said on this podcast before, it's really not about party for me. It's about gridlock. As you've heard me say before, gridlock is golden. Why is it golden? Because when you have gridlock, it means that one party can't impose their will, whether I like it or not, on everybody. So, I do like for one party to have control and the other party to have control of something else. So as long as the Democrats have the House, as long as the Democrats have the presidency, which it appears that's going to happen, Biden won. I'll say it. Biden won. I'm not going to open up the issue of whether I believe there was fraud involved because I don't know. I don't have firsthand knowledge there was fraud, but we'll let that play out however that plays out. But it looks like, so the Congress is in the Democrat corner. The presidency appears to be going to go with the Biden in the House. So the Republicans got to hold on to the U.S. Senate so that there's gridlock. But the kind of gridlock I don't like is gridlock where the Senate's going to turn the American people against the Republican Party. And I think that's what them blocking the $2,000 stimulus benefit potentially did. So with that, we've gone a heck of a lot longer than normal, 21 minutes in. And with that, I will say goodbye. Check me out, brianhornback.com on the web and all my socials. And we'll talk to y'all real soon.